What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Bischoff and Brown right here on the Detroit Lions podcast. He's Scott Bischoff. I'm Russ Brown. Scott, my man. 9-4. You were right. You were nervous. We lose to the Bears. How the hell are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Where do we begin? I don't know. I didn't want to have this type of show today. And you're kind of in the same kind of path as me, as far as same mindset as me. Like, let's air it out there and vent this one through and talk about the defensive woes, move on from the offense and try to focus on the Broncos. But
the floor is yours. Go.
Yeah, no, I know. Look, we lose 28-13. Lions moved to 9-4. And I just got to vent. So Scott and I agreed I'm going to take 5 minutes or so to kind of vent about this defense because for weeks I've been trying to figure it out. We get a lot of great comments here on our YouTube page at Detroit Lions Podcast. And you guys, of course, can rate, review, and subscribe to the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the podcast stuff. It's great. We get a lot of comments about just the defense in general. And last week I wrote a piece that took some time. I mean, there was a lot of words in there, a lot of clips, trying to break down the defense. And I try to spin it, thinking like a defensive-minded guy. And I'm lost with Aaron Glenn. And honestly, folks, like I'm done with Aaron Glenn. Like, this is my outside perspective on it. I'm not in the building, so I don't know all the verbiage. I don't know what's being said, but I kind of get an idea of how it all works just as a high school coach that I was and learning from some college coaches and going to coaching clinics. Like, you kind of get an idea. And last year, this defense was not great by any means. And the defensive backs coach was the scapegoat last year. Fortunately, the Lions defense figured it out. They went 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they finished 9-8. In the off seasons, this Lions team, they brought in Dre Bly. That's the new defensive backs coach, but like, it's not working. So is he going to be the scapegoat, or is it going to be Kelvin Shepard, the linebackers coach? Is it Aaron Glenn? Or let's be honest, is it a specific player? Like, what is it? Because the Bears on the opening drive took it straight down our throats. And at any moment in time, it felt like they could turn a drive on and just score at will whenever they wanted. And I know there's a bunch of things offensively that we're going to get into, but like, if we're going to blame a specific player, is it the undrafted free agent from 2021 and Jerry Jacobs that Brad Holmes found and they've turned in to be a number 2 corner for them? Is it? I don't know, but he appeared to be benched for Kindle Vildor, who, by the way, is a former 5th round pick of the Bears, and he's been on 2 other teams prior to Detroit. He's now out snapping Jerry Jacobs, and Jacobs gets torched by DJ Moore on 4th and 13. That's inexcusable, cannot happen. And Hutch jumps off sides. Jacobs has given up 7 of the 21 passing touchdowns this year. And I mean, what's the other excuse for Aaron Glenn? Lack of talent on defense? We're no longer in the days of the Lions relying on Dean Marlowe, Trey Flowers. There's been plenty of talent added to this team since 2021 when Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes took over. If you don't believe me, look at Alex Anzalone. They brought in the veteran defender who comes from their defensive system that they learned and adopted from their days in New Orleans. You brought in Charles Harris. You paid him. You brought in John Kaminsky, who finally had a good game this past weekend. But where the hell's Charles Harris? 1.5 sacks this year, 14 pressures. My buddy got paid and reverted back to his days with the Dolphins. And if we're going to talk about veterans, how about Tracy Walker? Where's this guy been? This was a guy that was featured on Hard Knocks of Dan Campbell as a guy that you're going to build around, and he played 0 snaps when your season's not on the line, but I mean, we're talking late in the year. 0 snaps against a divisional opponent on defense. He played 13 snaps on special teams. He got benched for Ifeatu Melifonwu, who has been very hit or miss as a defender for this defense. Meanwhile, the other teammate back there, Kirby Joseph, he's lost in space. He's making poor reads left and right in the run game. And Aaron Glenn continues to use him as a buzz defender in these 2 high safety looks while Jerry Jacobs is getting torched down the field. Like, It's just mind-blowing, asinine stuff. And I got a question for the people. Do we know that the Lions have drafted a linebacker every single year under Campbell and Holmes? 2021, Derek Barnes. 2022, Malcolm Rodriguez. 2023, Jack Campbell. Meanwhile, we've drafted 4, not 1, not 2, but 4 defensive linemen on day 2 of the draft over the last 3 years. They've had 3 drafts. Levi Ozarike, Aleem McNeil in the first draft, Josh Paschal after taking Aiden Hutchinson, and then Broderick Martin, who, by the way, they traded up for. They used not 1, not 2, but 3 draft picks to acquire, and kind of doesn't make any sense now because he played 6 snaps on Sunday against the Bears. He's played 17 all year. That's 15 less snaps than James Houston, and James Houston hasn't played since week 2. Ozarike played 14 snaps on Sunday, and Pascal's kind of hit or miss. He plays about 30 snaps a game, and he put together a good week against the Saints, kind of was just there on Sunday. But like, you think about it, Broderick Martin, 3 picks you give up for to get him. You could probably use some secondary help with those 3 picks. And if we're staying on top of the NFL draft and the players that they've taken, 2020 or 2022, they took 8 players in that draft. 6 of them were defensive players. That includes Hutchinson at 2nd overall. This is a team that has added Isaiah Buggs, Cameron Sutton, Gardner Johnson. Buggs is barely on the field. He's been benched a bunch of times this year. Sutton's been kind of up and down, but for the most part, pretty consistent. I like the signing still. And Gardner Johnson, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Been hurt. Cool. But if him getting hurt, Gardner Johnson is the reason to why this defense isn't working, shame on this staff because they altered their scheme and overall game plan around one guy. That can't happen. There's way too much talent in the room for the same result week in and week out with this defense. There's coverage lapses every single week, and the only way that there's any type of play is when there's a lucky bounce to Brian Branch, i.e. the Saints game. Like, Branch appears to be a stud, but Malcolm Rodriguez looked like a steal last year, and he has played single-digit defensive snaps or 0 defensive snaps in 9 of the 13 games he's played this year. I'm worried. Broderick Martin's never going to hit the ground running here. I'm worried that Branch is going to fall back into the shadows after a strong rookie year. And if it happens, there's one guy to blame. It's not Dan Campbell. It's not Aiden Hutchinson. It's not Brad Holmes. It's Aaron Glenn. And I want people to know this. When Justin Fields scored on that quarterback keep on 3rd and goal, he was like at the 10 or the 12, somewhere in there. He scored because Aiden Hutchinson called his own number for a Lions stunt on a TE stunt, which to the guy that was in my mentions and is still tweeting about me to this day, rather than talking to me like a gentleman, he's tweeting about me. Hutchinson trying to explain to me what a line stunt is, and he's bashing me. But Hutchinson's supposed to loop inside, and the defensive tackle is supposed to loop outside. You're playing against a mobile quarterback. You learned that day 1 in high school.
What was the tackle on that play? It doesn't even matter. It's a defensive tackle. You're asking to tackle Justin Fields in open space.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it can't happen. And it happens on 3rd down. And Jeremy Reisman of the Pride of Detroit on SB Nation, at Detroit on Lion on X or Twitter, he put out some numbers yesterday. Since week 7, since the Baltimore game, the Lions defense is giving up almost a 39% conversion rate of 8 yards or more on 3rd down. It's the worst in the NFL. And it's like, you look at this game and you see the freedom that Hutch has on that line stunt. And it makes me wonder, because he admitted to it. This is not me speculating now. This is him admitting to it, saying he owned up to it. I'll give him credit. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes in our day jobs. It happens. But he owns up to it, and it makes me wonder if he's given, as a second-year pro that's played, 25 games in his career, maybe 28 games in his career, whatever it is, give or take. If he's given the freedom to call line stunts on 3rd down, imagine the freedom that Tracy Walker's given as a veteran. Again, a key guy that we talked about earlier on my rant here. Cam Sutton, Alex Anzalone, guys that have been around in the league. I mean, it makes you wonder. And it has me thinking, like, if you make these adjustments on defense in the game, which I understand you have to make, if Hutch is making an adjustment to go one way, the linebackers are making an adjustment to go the other way, and the defensive backs are checking into a coverage that doesn't coordinate with what's being called, guess what's going to happen, guys? Coverage lapses. And that's exactly what's happening every single week when you watch this defense. That's why Jordan Love on Thanksgiving looked like freaking Aaron Rodgers. Justin Fields has shredded them twice now. Derek Carr got in rhythm before he got hurt. And had he not got hurt, the Saints might have won last or 2 weeks ago. We gave them the benefit of the doubt with Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson, but right now it's inexcusable. This defense looks like a free-for-all. I talked about it in the article about the problems with the fundamentals, with the coaching blunders. I'm just convinced that the defensive coordinator here in Detroit, Aaron Glenn, is not coordinating. I'm convinced that he is lost in what he's doing. And I truly believe he's got 4 weeks to fix it, including a potential playoff push. And if he doesn't, see ya. Get him out of town, find something else, because it's not working anymore. And I'm done being kosher about it. I don't want to take the relaxed approach. I get it. We're 9-4. Best record we've seen since the 60s. But this team, I don't owe this team anything. This team has done nothing for me for 32 years. I cover the team, and every single week I watch the same stuff, and it's frustrating. I'm frustrated. This is a team that a couple weeks ago we felt like championship.
Did you just say you're only 32 years old?
I did. We've been over this. I'm a little bit younger, but that's okay. It's
Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead. Carry on.
No, it's fine. And it's just like, I'm frustrated because my mentions get filled with questions and comments and people saying I don't know what I'm looking at. And then I hear these things and I'm like, Hutch was in the wrong because he played undisciplined. The defense is consistently playing undisciplined across the board. Jacobs gets torched. Safeties are coming downhill. It just, everything is backwards with this defense. And I'm frustrated with it because this was a team a couple weeks ago when we said potential Super Bowl, potential NFC championship, certainly the NFC North. That gave us this glimmer of hope. And now it feels like there's nothing left to play for other than trying to find a way to back into the playoffs. And I don't feel confident watching this team. And if they can figure it out, great. Make me eat crow. That's what I want. That's what I should be doing as a fan. But I can't keep buying into this crap if this is what they're going to produce every single week defensively when they've given the talent, the signings, the draft picks, everything for Aaron Glenn, and nothing is happening. So that's where I'm at with the defense. If you want to add anything, that's cool, but we can move to the offense. The defense, Aaron Glenn.
It's, I'm not going to add anything because I think it was as much as last week. Nobody sniffs any of this shit out. So that but I definitely thought they were in a situation where last week was a game they were going to lose. Mm-hmm. It was also a huge game for them. I mean, it was a huge opportunity for them to get to 10-3 and put themselves right in position to not control their destiny, but in some ways to make it easier on themselves by having a home playoff game. Because listen, they're going to Dallas. That game's in Dallas, right?
Yep.
Anybody think the Lions have a chance in that game? Really?
0.
And it's not just the defense, but watching them over the last 5-6 weeks, seeing Baltimore light them up, seeing them not be able to get off the field against the Chargers, having to pull a rabbit out of a hat against Chicago in the first game, mm-hmm. Maybe I am. Making Jordan Love look like the second coming of Aaron Rodgers on Thanksgiving, and then seeing it in person in New Orleans and watching what they look like both offensively and defensively, it was, I don't know if anybody picked up on it last week, but the resignation of they're 9-3. It's been a great ride, but anything they give us above and beyond this is just gravy. Is just, we're
settling to be a loser. Like that's what we're doing.
I guess, but in some ways, I mean, nobody's coming on. Nobody wants to listen to some, like me, tell you they're going to lose and there's no hope and blah. Who cares? Nobody cares nobody should care what I think if that's my perspective, if that's what I'm like, it, you know what I mean? Like, but we're talking about legitimate things and reasons to be worried about both right now and going forward. Should they have Okay, so let's just take it back just a second. If they don't give up that 4th and 13 touchdown, I think it's a different game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if they don't jump off sides, Chicago's punting.
Yep.
And, it's a different game. But then all the dysfunction on defense and all that stuff, let's talk about the offense for a minute, right? Like, so, okay, there is no hiding where I have been since the Lions made the trade with Stafford to bring Goff in. I thought, we've talked about this on this show, I thought when the trade was made, I thought there was a glimmer of upside with Goff, simply because Sean McVay refused to allow Goff to grow up and figure out defenses on his own. So it's kind of like a parent who does all the laundry for his kid, and then the kid goes to school and is like, well, how the hell do I wash these clothes? That was what I thought Goff was coming here, a player who really needed to figure out how to run an offense. And I think he's done that. So that was the upside with him, is that there was some hope that away from McVay, he may progress as a player. But there's always this sort of in the background with him where there is this play that props up out, it pops up out of nowhere. Like, okay, we've been talking for weeks about how the ball's coming out of his hand weird, right?
Yeah.
My wife is watching the game with me on Sunday, and my father is all in on the Lions again. So he's been coming over to watch games. And, the kids are around, all this stuff, and he throws a pass, and she looks up, and she's like, they have no chance with him as their quarterback. And it's like, yeah, that's what it feels like right now. But like, so with him, obviously it's a pressure thing, and you can tie his poor play or whatever's gone on with him directly to the offensive line. But in the end, he's a pro quarterback who should be able to, overcome some of these things. And if everything around him needs to be perfect for him to play well enough for you to win games, and I know we're going to get crushed for this because Goff feels like one of those players that you cannot criticize for some people.
Yeah.
Like, so there is just a large element of this fan base where if you talk about Goff and bring up anything that's remotely worrisome, you're a hater.
Yep.
And all this stuff. So I get it, and I understand all that stuff. And my history with the quarterback stuff is widely known. Everybody knows. We don't need to bring it up again. But the issue was, I didn't believe that Goff would ever be able to get them over the hump in really important times when pressure, both physical and mental pressure and perceived pressure, which I think maybe for him is worse. Like the idea of, I don't trust Colby Sorsdale or whoever is playing right guard, and therein lies the Ragnow injury being such a huge problem. I don't trust it, so I'm going to get rid of the ball. And I'm staring down, and so what I see with him, I know I'm all over the place.
Good.
What I see with him is he's become, again, a one-read quarterback who cannot physically get off of that read and move within the pocket to get to the next read. And we see it. You watch the all-22 and you see, like, okay, Amon-Ra's wide open on the pass that he underthrows Jameson Williams, which is, I am going to dedicate 2 minutes to that.
Yes,
in a minute. Like, Amon-Ra's running wide open for a first down there, but he freaks, and it's under pressure too. So I'm not going to crush him for it, but that's not a hard throw to make. The ball's got to go over Jameson's outside shoulder towards the sideline. Yeah. It just does. There's two defenders. He's got them both beat.
But it's a 40-yard throw. Like, you can't make that throw. Meanwhile, Justin Fields, who we doubted on this show because of the elements, just like for Jared Goff, he torches you on 4th and 13 for a deep shot. You couldn't hit JMO for one. Like, we haven't seen one deep shot all year.
We've seen a few. We saw, a few. There's been a few where they've tried, but they're just, and everybody wants to knock Jameson for this stuff. And it's like, no, it's not necessarily a JMO issue. It's a Goff issue in some ways. And when I'm going to bounce all over the place. This show is going to be 7 hours long. When they drafted Jameson Williams, we were both on Woodward Sports that night. And when they made that trade up, I immediately thought I hope I verbalized it. I might not have, because there's a lot of things that go on up here that don't come out sometimes. But I didn't think he ever was a player who they drafted for Jared Goff. I don't think Jameson Williams and Goff are like, Jameson is not a Goff guy, right? So, but back to it, it's more that he turned down the really easy first down to Amon-Ra because he refused to get off of looking at Jameson Williams even under pressure. And everybody can rewatch that play. Amon-Ra's wide open. It's like 3rd and 6, I think, or whatever it is, 3rd and intermediate. And it's such an easy pitch and catch to Amon-Ra, but instead now you force the ball down the field, panicky. And so you've got that component of things. You've got multiple situations where he is just turning down throws to open players, including Jameson Williams, on drags and crossing routes, where he's stuck on a primary read or a first read, whatever you want to call it, and he can't get off of that read, won't get off of that read. And I know that, Laporta's done great things, and he looks electric as a player. He looks fantastic. Amon-Ra's awesome. The Lions' offense is an awesome offense. Their offense should be a top 5 offense in the NFL. They have speed everywhere. They have playmaking all over the place. Amon-Ra's not super fast, but he's fast enough. He's not slow. Like he's like bulked up Golden Tate kind of is how I kind of view him. Like out of the slot, he's super dangerous. He's a great route runner. He's always open.
That was my pro com for him, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah.
So and then you throw Jameson Williams in the mix. And last week he had the reverse, which is cool. Let's get the ball in his hands, and 1 target.
Yep.
And it was a garbage target.
Yep.
So, we're going to talk about Aaron Glenn, but we also need to talk about how stale in some ways the offense looks at times. And maybe Goff is hurt. Maybe there's something wrong with his thumb or his index finger or whatever, because for 4 or 5 weeks now, you can see the ball fluttering when he throws.
Yep.
And, it's like there's something up there. And then you look at the turnovers and the fumbles, the ball security stuff, Decker didn't have a very good game. He got walked in the game a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
But still, your quarterback needs to help in that situation too. And if the quarterback play is such that you need perfection around you, we all need to just embrace whatever this ends up as, because it's not good enough, both defensively and on offense. It's just not good enough on offense for things to have to be perfect, to be able to play at a level in which you can score points. And going forward, thinking about, okay, right now, who are they playing? If let's say they're the 3, would they be the 3 seed in the playoffs right now? I think they would. Because I know Dallas and Philly are somewhat tied, but only one of them can win the division. So let's say
they still might be the 2 seed.
So that would San Francisco be the 1 right now?
Oh, I forgot about them. Yeah, you're right. They'd be the 3 seed.
So they'd be the 1. I think Philly would be 2. I think Detroit would be 3. Whoever's winning the NFC South would be 4. I don't know who I'm missing, but I feel like the Lions would be the 3 seed in this scenario, playing the number 6 seed. And, whether that's the Rams. I don't want it to be.
Yeah, right now it's San Francisco as the 1, Dallas as the 2, Detroit as the 3, Tampa as the 4, Philly as the 5, Minnesota as the 6, and Green Bay as the 7. The Rams are on the outside looking in at the 8.
Okay. So, they played Minnesota twice to finish the season. This Denver game, we're going to get there. I promise.
Yep.
I
took up a lot of time. My fault.
No, it's good. We're good. And some of this is I think, this has been coming. The Lions haven't played good the last 6 weeks or so. They just haven't. So, and we can all recognize it. We can look at it and have our say and think what we think and all this stuff. But in the end, they need to play better. Yep. In every way. They need to make, they need to be more explosive on offense with all the weapons they have. Ragnow's injury is a big deal. It's just a huge deal. I really hope he's back. I think if he's not back and there's chaos for Goff, I think this is what we should expect: is some turnovers, some ugly looking stuff on offense. I would tell you this week. You want to so we have some business to take care of, but let's get away from the past and look ahead to this game coming this week. But first, take it.
We got some business to attend to. We got the play of the week, which is powered by Restore. I have to tell you guys about Restore Hyper Wellness. Maybe you're an athlete. Maybe you got kids like myself or Scott that are athletes, or maybe you're just trying to get back into the gym and you're not recovering like you used to. Well, I've got the solution. Go check out Restore Hyper Wellness here in Northville, Michigan, or Birmingham, Michigan. Look, guys, my son and I, we both go. We love it. He's a 3-sport athlete. I'm in the gym 3 to 4 times a week, and we just make the time to go check them out and get our bodies right by visiting Restore. They've got everything you need, from compressions to cryotherapy, even specialty services such as IV drip therapy, just tons of great stuff. And just after one visit, we felt better. So I've been hooked ever since. My son's hooked. They've got a ton of specials as far as holiday offers right now. So go check them out. Get your family member, your friends, even yourself, the service you need to restore your body. Tell them I sent you from the Detroit Lions podcast so they can get you taken care of and get you back to doing more of what you love. Don't wait around. Go check out Restore Hyper Wellness right now. So play of the week, essentially here for me, is the 2nd and 5 from the Chicago Bears, 8. This is the touchdown to Josh Reynolds. I can't play a clip or anything like that just simply because of copyright stuff. But Lions come out in 11 personnel with a 2x2 set. Goff motion St. Brown across on the right side of the formation, or from the right side of the formation. And on the right side of that formation is Josh Reynolds. He's faced with man coverage with Tyreek Stevenson. Reynolds does a great job just running this post move, kind of doing an outside in, and it creates that separation and window needed for Jared Goff, who might have been one of his better throws of the day. And it was one that it happened at the right time, 25 seconds before the half. They took the lead 13-10. And I'm not even going to lie, I felt good. I felt like it was one of those where it was like 13-10, we get the ball back, we're going to kind of start settling in. And unfortunately, it didn't happen, but it is what it is. And Scott, you got your play of the day, or play of the week, I should say.
Yeah. So, I think there were a couple that to me could have qualified in the scenario. One of them was a play that didn't work out, but I love the design, which is the Gibbs swing pass. That's a touchdown all day long. He just kind of, he catches that. I don't know, he gets touched. But to me, the run, his touchdown run was sweet. Really nice. I don't know if you want to call it a kick out block, whatever it was, by James Mitchell. Really nice block. He's become a player they use a lot in 12, where he's just a blocker. I don't think he's caught a pass all year. Mm-hmm. But still, so you have him kicking out there, and then you have Sewell up the field just wreaking havoc on, defensive back or two. And Gibbs just, and I love the action of it. It's a little like, it's kind of a funny action play for Goff, but it's a toss play where the action of the play goes to the left and they pitch it out to him to the right and get him to the perimeter like quick. And it's hard. It's really hard to get to the edge at times, but they get him on the edge. They give him a huge lane to run through with Mitchell kind of pushing his guy to the sideline. And then it's just about speed. And it just seems like, and that scenario on that play, it just seemed like it was too easy. It's so easy. And his movements, it's just fun to watch him run, But anything where Sewell's out in front of a play like that, where he's out in space, that's a good thing. So easy touchdown, really nice play. Gibbs is definitely looking the part. Super exciting and interesting to see what his future holds. A very electric player. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And this is something that we're going to bring you guys every week, even with draft stuff. So we're going to talk about, prospect of the week and those types of things, which will, of course, be powered by Restore. So like I said, check them out. Restore Hyper Wellness, tons of great stuff by them. They'll get your body right. And like I mentioned, getting you doing what you're loving. So check them out. But moving to the Broncos, Lions, Broncos, Saturday night, 8:00 game. Back in Detroit, second to last home game of the year. I'm assuming the roof is going to be blowing off this place. And I mean, it's a must win now. I mean, after what Tommy Cutlets did for the Giants last night against the Packers, I mean, how's your family? We need this win against the Broncos. And it's honestly, it's two teams that are playing two different types of football, and one played the Lions' current style of play in the first 6 or 7 weeks of the year and is now playing the Lions' first half of play, I guess I should say, currently. The Broncos were 1-5 going into week 7, and they have now just been on a tear. They've won 6 out of their last 7, and, Detroit started 5-1. They've gone 4-3 during that stretch, which is okay, right? Like, if you were to tell me in August that we were 9-4, 2 games in first place, essentially 2 games away from winning the NFC North, I would have never batted an eye. I would have been like, this is awesome. But the way things are happening, it's just nerve-wracking, and you're playing a Broncos team that is playing really good football right now. And Russell Wilson kind of looks rejuvenated, and they got some pieces there, but I mean, how are you expecting this one? You hit the nail on the head with the Bears. So I'm thinking something. Somebody. You got somebody in Vegas that I don't know about?
No, dude, I don't know shit. And come on. What's the Lions' record in the last 4 games? It's 2-2, right?
Yep.
In that 4-game span, you needed to pull the rabbit out of the hat against the Bears. Down, I think they were down 17 late. I don't know how they won that game. And
mind-blowing.
Yeah. And then you look at being up 21-0 in the first 5.5 minutes against the Saints, and then really, really struggling from that point forward. So as much as this has been a bit of a bitch fest about the Lions, the last 4 games, it's not been good at all. So am I a little more alarmed? I'm significantly more alarmed about the Denver team than I was, looking at this 3 months ago when the schedule comes out or whatever. So to me, there are 2 things that are super interesting and will determine this whole thing. And it's teams at this point have to see that Jared Goff loves to throw in-breaking routes. Loves it. And he's great at it. I mean, he really is. He can fit the ball in super tight windows. He makes ridiculous throws, makes it look easy sometimes. But having said that, I think it's very obvious to see that defenses are jamming up the middle of the field, and they want to force him to throw the ball outside the numbers, down the field and outside the numbers. So can the Lions get the running game going, period, and play that kind of a game where there's a lot of play action stuff, but the running game drives, both what happens on offense for them, also how they react and play on defense. Taking putting together long drives and scoring touchdowns is a great thing, and it forces other teams to kind of get out of what they want to do. And that to me is the entire thing. Like, can the Lions establish the run? Should we see 35 carries between Gibbs and Montgomery in this game? Yeah, that'd be great. It really would be. Yeah,
they should,
or more like that. They really need to just prioritize that. I know it's a lot easier to say it than it is to do it, but I think if you get into a situation where you're like all right, offense, we're down 10 and everybody knows we're throwing, and, they're cluttering the middle of the field and maybe, forcing you to put the ball into places where your quarterback doesn't love to throw it to. That's danger. So to me, that's it. That's all of it. Russell Wilson is still Russell Wilson. He's elusive. He's not elusive like Justin Fields is, though. He's not going to torch you for 30-yard, 40-yard runs. He's just going to keep plays alive. When I look at their offense, I see Cortland Sutton make some sort of ridiculous catch every week. And I think, this, we talked about it last week, and I feel like this is coming. Kirby Joseph he's going to pick off one of these passes. So Wilson throws a really high arcing pass, like, like a punt almost at times.
Yeah.
He still has impeccable ability to put the ball down the field accurately, but it feels like what it could be a get right kind of a game, both on offense and defense, but the offense will have to run the ball out of their problems. And obviously that puts the defense in a position to be defending the pass. I think they can. And it's just, just like we've talked about this, you just have to execute, and they have not been. So, I don't know. I mean, what do you think about like Denver's ability to muddy up the middle of the field? Can they do that with their personnel? Is that something I'm creating in my mind? Is it like an illusion of crazy?
I think if teams watch what the Bears did in both games against the Lions, I think there's a really good recipe there of how to limit the Lions' offense. Jaquan Brisker is a hell of a player for the Bears. He had 17 tackles in that game, which, by the way, he went 2 picks after Josh Pascal, but that's here nor there.
You were not happy about that night, I remember. Yeah, no,
I love Josh Pascal, but I just didn't like doubling down on another defensive lineman. That's, again, 5 defensive linemen in 3 years. It's just crazy to me. But
maybe we'll make it 6. Maybe in April at 6.
And that's the crazy thing. They're going to have to. They're going to have. Well, yeah. It actually was 6 because I didn't count James Houston. But anyways, no, I mean, look, with the Broncos, they have the personnel. Justin Simmons is still very good. Kareem Jackson is there. He's an aggressive player. He hits a little high at times. There's been some questions as far as, is he out to hurt guys? And if he is, honestly, cool. Like, that's the way football is.
Is he back from suspension?
I don't know. I don't. I don't think
he suspended like 3 games, 2 games ago or something. I could be wrong about that. Let me look that up.
Yeah, I don't remember now. I thought it was up, but maybe he's one more game. If he does, good. But they got Patrick Surtain, so I mean, he's going to probably shadow Amon-Ra a lot, and that's going to open up a lot of one-on-one situations for Laporta, Jamo, Gibbs, and you mentioned running the ball 35, 40 times in this game, and I think they can. The Broncos give up about 140 yards rushing a game. In total, about 380 yards total per game, which is 3rd worst in the NFL. But they have 24 takeaways this year, which is the most in the NFL. So it's like, if the Lions are going to run what they did this past week against the Bears, which to me, just watching the All-22 from the last 24 hours or so, it's like the Lions ran a lot of weird route combinations against the Bears offensively. They ran a lot of I don't know if I want to call it high-low concepts. It didn't really look like level concepts because not everything was breaking towards the middle of the field. But the Bears did a great job taking away the middle of the field and forcing either checkdowns, which got tackled and ate up quickly, or the deep routes, which Goff couldn't throw. And it's like, can he do that in Ford Field? If he can, we might have something. But I'm just starting to wonder, are we going to see Hendon Hooker activated if this thing doesn't get going? And is Hendon Hooker going to get tossed in there to maybe throw a deep shot to Jamo? I mean, you got to try something if Goff can't do it. If he can't keep playing the way he's playing, and if he keeps doing that, this is going to be another 9-8 football team. And that's just, to me, it's, as I was alluding to earlier, it's unacceptable. So I think it's a very winnable game, but I felt like the Bears was a winnable game, and I feel like the last 4 or 5 weeks were all very winnable games, and we've been kind of just barely getting by. And it's like, are we going to barely get by on this one? If we do, cool, just get by. So they need to stick with the ground game. They were pounding the rock very well between the tackles. Montgomery was averaging over 6 yards a carry. Gibbs was averaging over 6 yards a carry. But between the two of them, they had 21 total carries. And it's like, that's not enough when you're trying to keep the opposition off the field. And that's what the Lions should be trying to do. Establish 5, 6, 7-minute drives in this game. And, don't come out of the half throwing the football. Like, they did that.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It's like, it's so strange how they get out of rhythm. Like, they do it to themselves in ways. I think Kareem Jackson is still suspended. I think he has one more game. But I don't even think it matters. You're right. So the strength of, I think, what the Broncos do on defense is in their secondary. And it definitely gives their defensive line and their blitzers, and they blitz a ton, time to get home. So I don't love the idea of a very versatile secondary being able to confuse and almost bait quarterback kind of thing. And then doing a good enough job in coverage to allow the pressure to get home, which is, I think that's why you and I both are looking for them to really play a slow, grind it out kind of run first game. Yeah. I think they can. It's just, the Ragnow injury is a big deal. They need him back. I think that we could do another show this week and we'll talk about it and we'll let everybody know if we're going to do it. But it is definitely, and I think it'd be worth doing. It'd be interesting. What are their needs right now? What concerns do we have? And I would say that we could talk for half hour, 45 minutes about, just draft stuff. Concerns with this team. What do you look at? What kind of position are they in with Hendon Hooker being a 3rd round pick? With Goff having another year, what can you even do there? Do you even know what you have with Hendon Hooker before you have to make the decision on whether or not you're going to extend Goff? I don't know, but they're not in a great situation there. Do they need I'm giving away the show before we even do it. I'm going to stop talking.
Well, a little bit on the practice.
But
I was going to say a little bit on the practice report as far as injuries for today. Taylor Decker did not practice today with the back. Ragnow was limited with knee, back, and toe, and Hendon Hooker was a full participant in practice. So if Decker goes down, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they're going to have to start running some pony personnel. They're going to have to start bringing Gibbs and Montgomery on the field at the same time. They're going to have to start disguising an additional blocker.
Sewell would kick over to play left tackle, and Skipper would start at right tackle, right? Is that
Which by the way, I don't think anybody noticed this during the game. Dan Skipper, they did a lot of tackle over stuff with Sewell going over to the left side, and Skipper played right tackle on one, but he was eligible, and he actually checked release and goes out to the flats, and it's like everything. Like I'm telling you, I think it was like some type of high-low levels concept type deal, because there was Skipper, there was St. Brown, and JMO. Nobody was open. And it's like that, you're putting everybody flowing that way defensively. Teams are going to pick up on that, especially the Broncos with Vance Joseph, who is disguising blitzes and doing a pretty good job defensively.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They're going to have to find something to do differently. And I think maybe just pounding the rock is what it's going to have to be. I mean, I would have never had Jared Goff throw 35 times last week against the Bears. They did. I don't know. I mean, Ben Johnson's going to...
Situation-wise, you kind of force them to have to do that, being, especially later in the game when you're down, as much as you are. But let's just, 9-4. Obviously, we love the idea they're 9-4. It feels super weird to be bitching as much as we are with them at 9-4, but there was an opportunity for them to not. I mean, they could be, they could be in a situation where they would be in a really good position right now. But all they really can think about right now is Denver, and this is a game that you have to win. We'll see how they play. They have to play. They're going to have to execute better than they have in the last month. Clearly, that doesn't take much to see, to say that. But, this does feel like a game where they could get right a little bit. But things are not easy for them right now in any phase of the way they're playing. And they got to figure it out. That's what it is.
Yep. No, and it was odd that Vegas opened them up as 5-point favorites too on Sunday night. It was just a little weird after what we saw, but
yeah,
I mean,
home, away, being indoors helps. I would say I would be very alarmed if they were out, if this game was in Denver. I wouldn't be feeling good at all about it, but it's not. It's in Detroit. So, I'm crossing my fingers and let's hope for good things.
Yep, we'll see what happens. But look, we had to get this off our chest. Well, like Scott said, we'll try to do maybe another one later this week talking about what we need right now. And we'll try to figure something out for later in the week. But it's always fun getting to do this show. As always, you guys can find us on Twitter or X, whatever it's called, at Russ NFL Draft, at Bischoff_Scott. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to the show at Detroit Lions Podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all streaming podcast platforms. So a lot of fun, just talking football and getting to vent. Disappointed in being 9-4 because I feel like we should be 10-4, maybe even 11. But it is what it is. Maybe I'm getting spoiled now, but we'll see. We got to bounce back against the Broncos. You got anything else to add?
Yeah, we're good.
Cool.
We're good.
He's Scott Bischoff.
Positive vibes, baby.
As positive as we can be. But he's Scott Bischoff. I'm Russ Brown. This has been Bischoff and Brown right here on the Detroit Lions Podcast.